Are we rolling yet? Good. Okay, so we're gonna start. Keep looking at me, Chris, not at the lens. And the first question for you, Chris, is you're an animated filmmaker. You've made what you call an animated documentary about a guy named Ryan Larkin, who's also an animator. Try to be succinct. What are you trying to do with this film?
Well, I mean, what I'm trying to do here, first of all, I am trying to celebrate Ryan's life and to to show that this guy was, a great artist, and that, well, there are many outcomes to the story of being a great artist, and here's certainly a very interesting outcome.
But what's in it for Ryan?
I don't know if there's anything in it for him. I mean, as a documentarian would, be asking that question yourself. When you're doing a film about a subject, what's in it for the subject? This is a video camera. It's to take pictures of the world according to Ryan Larkin.
Where can I put my thumbs where they don't interfere with the technology?
You can put your thumbs anywhere, as long as they're not over. The only place you can't put your finger is on the lens, right there.
How's that button work?
You just press it. Watch. Press it right there. Look, it went white. It says record, and now it's recording. And there's the world out there.
In the beginning, Chris described to me this computer-generated animation fantasy film. Having to expand it into this more detailed documentary, this I was not expecting.
You could turn it around and shoot yourself.
So I can only get arm's length. I don't want to talk in front of cameras for hours about me and my sordid past, or my glorious past, or any past. I'm interested in the present. I live in the present all the time,
I live in Toronto, a city in Canada where I see way too many shades of gray for my own good health. A few years ago, however, I became friends with a splash of color in the form of a slight, fragile gentleman from Montreal named Ryan Larkin. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Christopher.
Like me, Ryan is a filmmaker and animator. 3 decades ago, he was a rising star in the world of animation. He's the creator of several short films, 2 of which have secured his place in the history of animated filmmaking.
You want me to confess? I don't think I have anything really that interesting to say, except to apologize to the world for not providing them with another beautiful film, I just I couldn't handle the mathematics, to use an abstract expression, of making a good film. I'm only good at the creative process. In any other process, I can't do it all, A genius is somebody who could be ingenious, but at the same time is sort of a jerk in other areas. I just took a early retirement, I guess you might call it, I decided that it was more interesting just making money on the street. At least I get to meet, 100 people a day, and I make minimum wages, and I don't pay taxes, and I don't pay union dues, and I don't have to go to committee meetings. It's kind of interesting, meeting all these people just for 2 seconds, Is there a spare change? There are 2 ways to panhandle, One is to look like a miserable person, and the other is to entertain. I always get this one question, hey, why don't you get a job, And the answer is, well, Either give me some spare change or walk on down the street.
Well, this is the Principality of Monaco. Money comes here and it just kind of stays, it swims in this kind of holding tank. And people kind of, wash their armpits with it. I finished the production on Ryan and came over here with a video copy of the film and showed it here for the first time to an audience that also saw a presentation of the making of Lord of the Rings and also the making of the movie Finding Nemo. So there I was, right in the middle. So that was cool. When I met Ryan, I knew immediately there was a story that really needed to be told. I like to deal with mangling people's appearances, to show psychological states of people. Ryan continues to have about the most interesting psychological state of any person that I've met firsthand. All of the conversations in Ryan are live. They're actually him talking to me and vice versa. But when I was doing that, I realized that I couldn't take myself out of the story, so there I am. We're all screwed up in some way or another, and that's why the story of our lives are so interesting.
An autograph, please.
If people hate the film in Monaco, I could shrug that off, I think, easier than if Ryan looks at this film and is, freaks out and hates it. If I were in his shoes and somebody were doing a documentary about me as a subject, the first thing I think that my gut, fear would be this film is going to exploit me.
So let me take this opportunity to introduce one of the world's most talented, provocative, animated filmmakers, an Oscar nominee, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Landreth.
Okay, this is a story of a guy named Ryan Larkin. He's one of my heroes, actually. His work was known all around the world. He was nominated himself for an Academy Award back in 1969. This film had a budget of $1 million. So there are 4 basic characters that have speaking roles. Ryan Larkin, the first character here. The next character was his ex-girlfriend, Felicity Fanjoy. This is what we did to Felicity. Regular model of her, it's going transparent there, and onto that we are now putting paint effects sketchy stuff. And this is what we get as a result. This is Ryan's sketch, basically put onto a 3D model.
Emotionally fragile person. His father had been violent with a kind of hair-trigger temper, whom I believe had a drinking problem and, was perhaps abusive to the family. And so that's a problem to begin with. And then the fact of his homosexuality, which put him at odds with society, is another factor. And he had an older brother who died in a boating accident, and Ryan really sort of idolized his older brother, and he was there when his brother drowned, and I think he had always a huge burden of guilt about not doing anything to save his brother.
He was my hero. I adored him. He was great. I had no athletic skills. I was the little skinny guy with a pencil in his hand. It was an accident. 5 teenagers on a boat in the middle of the St. Lawrence River and the Ottawa River, and somebody drowns. It happens. Everything that unfolds is a shape maker of one's life, I just had to get away from the memory and the horror of it.
Spare change, sir. Spare change.
I got a job at the film board and making a small salary. About 1963. That was a greaser punk hairdo. I had it all greased back and Elvis Presley style. I was what they call a child prodigy, I had this natural talent for composition.
I haven't seen him for years. And whenever I drive up Saint Laurent, I wonder if I'm going to see him or bump into him. And every now and then I think, well, why don't I just do it? Why don't I just get out of the damn car and walk up the street and say hello? I haven't done that yet. And anyway, he was our paper boy when Marion and I lived in Dorval. And then one day he walked into the film board and we made eye contact. And I said, "You're our paper boy." And he was just fresh out of art school. Those early tests showed great promise. And although the first go at Cityscape was kind of crazy and erratic and static, he just understood without having to be told, this is what has to be done.
I was, I picture myself in that Bob Dylan line, about a country boy coming into the big city, and just a symbolic self-portrait, I suppose.
Ryan.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
How
I'm not bad. Oh yeah, I'm living at the old brewery mission.
What's it like there?
It's very nice, and it keeps me away from
Right, bad influences. I consider myself a friend of Ryan's and felt very close to him at different times in my life, particularly when I first met him and was working at the NFB.
There was a clique of people, that always had tea or coffee together, meeting some of the other famous filmmakers. I was having a really good time. I don't know that.
Norman McLaren at one time was probably Canada's most well-known filmmaker, and for Ryan Larkin to be in a position of becoming an apprentice to Norman McLaren, working with him, was an overwhelming honor.
Ryan had as his role models and his adopted parents, McLaren and Glover, and that the basis for that relationship, I'm sure, sowed a lot of seeds for Ryan.
Like in the ancient Greeks, where an older man would take a younger man under his wing, and there was often a sexual component, but he also showed him the ways of the world, and I think that this was a big part of his relationship to those two men.
I remember, I think it was just before Christmas, and I was down in the director of production's office, and Ryan came by and said, "Do you want to come and see my new movie?" That film just made our day. It was such a romp, such a kind of a uninhibited, glorious romp.
Syrinx, which is based on a Claude Debussy piece of music, subtle flute music. And it's a story of how Pan got his pan pipes,
We're all chasing something. We're all looking for something. And unfortunately, it always eludes you. So you have to reinvent yourself.
Everybody was walking around with turtleneck sweaters and beatnik hairdos. I was making a film while walking at the time.
People think that walking is rotoscoped. It isn't. It isn't. God help us, it isn't. It's drawn frame by frame by somebody who understands how a person moves. Well, if that isn't genius, what is?
You know, when you're successful at something, you get a lot of pressure to reproduce in slight variation what you've done before. And this was something that really chafed Ryan, because he didn't want to repeat himself. He wanted to do something different. He was a constantly creative person. I mean, from drawing little flip pads for children that he met to amuse them, to decorating everything that he laid his hands on. He has this wonderful color sense and just exuberant, joyous expression in his art.
Well, making an animation film requires many, many hours of quiet work, you know, in a small room with, you know, thousands of drawings coming off my pen. And it's very similar to monks in the 13th century making illuminated manuscripts. I always considered animation to be a form of sculpting. I'm just some old-fashioned guy, you know, with a hammer and chisel. Using the old technology, you know, what one has to create an imaginary sculptural form on a two-dimensional level, which, you know, nowadays can be done by very sophisticated computer imagery.
Yeah, so let's take a look here. I'm bringing up the file right here. I'm just going to interactively render something.
I think my whole mode for the last couple of years is that I've been this loyal, fawning, doggedly devoted slave to telling the best story possible.
I love that. Sasha, that's fucking gorgeous. Thank you. Yeah, congratulations.
Are there any parts of the film that we have any potential misgivings about showing Ryan?
You know what? I'm not going to answer that question. The purpose of this documentary is definitely not to help Ryan.
Is he conscious of what it means being on a film? Like the exposure he's going to get by being the character on a documentary?
I want, obviously, as I've said, I want to evoke a feeling of sympathy. I'm not singling Ryan out and exploiting him. I want to do honor to this guy.
When he did Walking, it's hard to think what he could do after this that would be as good as Walking, or, you know, somehow the film is going to bring it back with these expectations. You come and pick someone that is not necessarily prepared, and then he can just die, you know?
You know, it's very ironic because he often told me that Norman McLaren warned him about the dangers of early success before Ryan even became recognized as a great animator. Even during the time that Ryan and I were together, he drank quite a lot. Not to get drunk, but he drank beer all day long. Once he got more heavily into drugs and alcohol, these are things that really suppress those barriers that you set up in your mind and allow the demons to pour out. For sure, the cocaine that he started taking had an enormous effect on what happened to him. It suppressed all his wonderful qualities and exaggerated all the worst aspects of his personality.
A forest, living or dead, the choice is yours.
Oh, jeez. I just went my own way, you know. All artists do that, you know. I wasn't I wasn't taking orders for anybody, you know. I was just cutting loose.
Ryan was certainly never lacking in ego. I think his ego really blossomed to exaggerated proportions when he was on cocaine.
Oh, this is good grass.
As I remember it, it was planned there'd be a big party with all the film board functionaries and who knows, right up to into the government. And a part of the event was going to be the unveiling of Ryan's piece, his art. It was covered, and then when the time came for it to be unveiled, there it goes, off comes the sheet, and what Ryan has made is a picture of a 14 or 15-year-old boy masturbating. Obviously, Ryan was pushing the limits.
It was quite funny.
Folklore has it that he was paid by having a taxi deliver his paycheck every couple of weeks, and he paid for the taxi. I think it was a perfectly honorable way of collecting his pay, and we had no doubt that he was working at home. No doubt at all. But we weren't seeing any results.
This looks like a cocaine freakout.
We all were exposed to drugs. That was our role, our baptism, and we were the great pioneers inoculating ourselves with all this poison. It was fun for a while, but the party's over. And, you know, if you can't figure out it's time to go home, you're going to be left there in the early morning hours, wandering around drunk and confused. And is that any great situation to be in?
That was the time that I was resigning from the film board. I kind of dried up, you know. It's like a writer's block. It's an artist's block. I kind of went bankrupt and I had to leave.
And he just didn't seem to want to get into the harness again of what the film board represented.
I just couldn't handle the bureaucracy, you know. I was just too old-fashioned or something. I don't know.
You know, he always had this kind of vision of himself as artist, and didn't always analyze things that he didn't like to look at too closely. Whether he's the one who actually said the words, "I quit," or they said, "You're fired," it doesn't matter. It comes to the same thing.
I overheard in the hallway two executive producers talking about me, you know. They used the name Ryan. And one said to the other, "We don't need another Norman McLaren." Like it was a big problem, right?
Ryan was diddling the public funds himself. He was spending it on cocaine. And they finally, after 2 years, they said, okay, enough already. I don't think he has any reason to harbor a grudge. Let him face himself.
I had a drug problem, you see. That's why I couldn't finish my films. Cocaine. When you're doing cocaine, you know, you got all kinds of brilliant ideas every 3.5 minutes. And there's never enough time to complete a thought and put it on paper before another idea, even more brilliant, comes up in your mind. So I was overloading, which is the main reason why I stopped making films is because I just was not good at it anymore, you know? I'm just a, fucked up person. Like for this, I have to apologize. I don't know.
Maybe we killed him with kindness, That can happen. And maybe if I'd said, look, if you want your check, you're going to have to come here and get it. Sorry, you may be willing to pay to have it delivered to your studio downtown, but you're going to have to come here and get it, and we want you back here. There are young people here that could benefit from your presence, and so I have regrets about not being tough in that way. And I wish I had been.
I spent the next 5 years or so working on feature films in Toronto and Montreal. I was trying to start a career as a freelance animation filmmaker, mostly as a storyboard artist, working, planning out sequences. I lost my creative spirit. I became disgusted with the filmmaking industry, I decided, I'm going to take my paintbrushes and flee. This is what I probably looked like before I quit Coke. Circa 1997. I was doing just enough to keep me happy. I wasn't a heavy addict, shooting up. I wasn't never any of that.
He has another life now, and it's not an ugly life. It's maybe not a life that any of us would choose, but he's, in a way, he's chosen it, I guess. There are great poets who stopped writing in their mid-20s, weren't there? That was it, that they had finished what they had to say, and we should be grateful that we got it. As I think we're pretty grateful that we've got Ryan's work.
I feel like our life paths have been very different. I would like to think anyway that I avoided a lot of the pitfalls.
Did you push that back a bit?
Mm-hmm. Like
yeah.
that?
Yeah, it was a nice spider-like fingers. But whenever I do portraits, it's always important to have the hand.
He has fallen from grace in a way that is as spectacular as you could imagine for anyone who's been an artist. But on the other hand, where he's fallen to is an interesting and somewhat redemptive place.
Well, it's got a slightly biblical look that you have, that you enjoy.
Uh-oh, drawing the worry lines in there. Now I'm really going to look like I'm in my 40s.
40s are the best years.
40s are pretty good so far.
Yeah. Actually, I'm looking forward to my 60s.
So am I. To my 60s, not your 60s.
Yeah, I'll probably have a whole rejuvenation period.
Did you ever have a midlife crisis, Ryan?
No, I gave up sex when I was 30 or something.
Okay.
Sex and love, just like were too much to handle. I could only handle paying the rent.
Yeah.
What's it? 02, 03?
03.
One loses track.
Yeah. When one gets to be 60.
Yeah.
I'm not God. I'm an animator. This is an animation. Your character's in this animation.
Wait. So we're like actors on this stage, right? And you're responsible for our actions and dialogue?
Yeah, I'm doing this cool animation with lots of profound symbolism and political allegory. It's called The End.
Listen, ditch the two characters. The ending of your animation is about you.
Me? What do you mean?
I mean, you are a work of fiction in your own animation.
That's a lame idea.
Stick with me here. Your actions and your memories are created for you.
Because I'm fictional.
You're fictional.
You know, if you take on that point of view that you are a work of your own fiction, that kind of makes for a bigger, more playful canvas for you to romp around on.
Music, please!
Well, the theme in Bingo is a much darker theme than like the end. It's not a liberating story. It's, if anything, a cautionary tale.
Hi, Bingo.
Excuse me?
Hi, Bingo.
Bingo?
Bingo. Bingo the clown.
I'm not Bingo.
Hi, Bingo. Bingo the clowno.
But I'm
Bingo.
not.
Bingo. Bingo the clowno.
But I'm not.
Hi, Bingo!
You're Bingo! Bingo! Bingo the clowno!
But I'm Bingo. That's me. That's me.
Given a lie that's told long enough and loud enough, a person can be made to believe that hell is heaven and heaven is hell. And the more outrageous that lie is, the more likely it's going to come to be believed. That's a quote from Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf, actually. The end and Bingo are very cerebral. I think where I was going with Ryan, I hope hits close to home on a gut or a heart level. I've been getting questions, peppered with questions. Has Ryan seen the film yet? Well, no. Well, first of all, it's not nice to be judgmental, and it's certainly not nice to make a film where there's judgmental stuff in it. It's a tightrope. I'm imagining a scenario where I'm going to have to do damage control. We'll see how it goes, you know?
I'm just a castaway, some insect that drops through the cracks in the floor or something. I want that to change. I really am getting tired of nickels and dimes. You know? This is life, sitting in the rain.
We're all going to lose everything sooner or later, and it isn't that much to lose, so to me that's not the issue so much. But the issue is more, like, at a very simple level, is he happy? I bet he isn't.
Bonjour, hello. I'm looking for Ryan Larkin.
Ryan Larkin, the front desk, please. Ryan Larkin.
I think Ryan's going to be moved by the film. Whether moved means being jolted or being, moved in a positive way, I don't know yet. I'm going to guess that he's going to be a bit, perhaps even shocked by what he's seen.
Sure. I'm looking forward to seeing this.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to showing you. Although I must say that I'm a little nervous.
Yeah. Oh, don't be nervous. It looks like my actual signature.
There is your actual signature.
Yeah.
I became friends with a splash of color in the form of a slight, fragile gentleman from Montreal named Ryan Larkin. Hello, Ryan.
Hello, Christopher.
Like me, Ryan is a filmmaker and animator. 3 decades ago, he was a rising star in the world of animation. He's the creator of several short films, 2 of which have secured his place in the history of animated filmmaking.
You want me to confess?
Today, I asked Ryan if I could record our conversations. He replied by telling me about a simple inspiration he had back in 1968.
So I said, what I really want to do is make a film just with figures, walking figures. Oh, wow, you got some
Oh, wow, you got one of the original drawings.
Ryan's looking at artwork he created 35 years ago. This is the first time he's seen this drawing since he created it.
This is amazing. Oh, wow, this is beautiful.
35 years ago, Ryan created thousands of drawings like this one, and then put them together, one after the other after the other.
I meet people that say that my films had influenced a whole generation of animation filmmakers, which is probably true. It was fabulous. It was a great honor to be nominated. But then everybody gets nominated for an Academy Award eventually. See, I didn't actually win the Academy Award. Walt Disney won the award that year. That's how we looked for the Academy Awards. That's how we looked.
This is what you wore to the Academy Awards.
Yeah, right.
You must have stood out like big-time rock stars.
Now I look at this, I think maybe perhaps I was disqualified because of my costume.
Who is that young woman?
Felicity. Felicity was the love of my life for a long time.
Ryan was always a little close to the edge. He was an emotionally fragile person. You know, his father had been violent when they were young, and I'm sure you know about the tragedy of his brother's death, and that affected him enormously.
We should have had children.
Guess it wasn't meant to be, eh?
Oh, I still love you.
In 1971, 3 years after the success of Walking, Ryan was struck by another very simple inspiration: himself.
I was always moving my body around in front of mirrors and stuff and making drawings from my body, you know, from flashes. And sometimes I even used a camera to record how I was moving, because it seemed to me that I was moving in a very particular way that most other people weren't moving.
That's somebody you know, right?
Derek Lamb. He was my executive producer. And he was very nice, a very beautiful man.
Here was a guy that had been bursting with life 5 or 6 years earlier. You know, he could hardly contain the flow of drawings in his cubicle at the film board. And now here's a guy, you know, who is living out every artist's worst fear of losing it. And angry.
An accident out on Lakes. It's really wicked. But cocaine for me. I couldn't stop these young thieves from coming.
From the first flush of addiction, produced some amazing work. A life can be spent really trying to get that moment back.
I really do hope that you get back into some serious creative work. That was one thing I wanted to say. The other thing that I wanted to say, I'm going to say one thing, one concern that I have about you, which is your alcohol.
Which is what?
Your alcohol.
My alcohol?
Yes, your alcohol. Your alcoholic consumption is, as you know, pretty high. I want you to consider beating alcohol in the same way that you beat cocaine.
What? There's nothing I enjoy more than a good glass of cold beer. Am I supposed to give that up for like tea or something? No, can't do that.
I personally want to see you around, and I personally want to see you thrive, Ryan.
Fry?
Not fried. I want to see you thrive.
What? Who's going to buy my creations? You know? What's in it for me? I don't create because I've been ripped off so fucking much. I decided to stop creating. Creativity, what do you think I can do, you know? I cannot do anything. I've been deprived. Deprivation is the most devastating thing. I will surely, you know, be right on deck. I'll give up booze and give up cigarettes and right on deck. If somebody gives me some fucking money, one cannot do anything, anything at all, without the power of money. I got like about, you know, $10 in my pocket, which is, to me, like a really happy experience. But to most people, they spend $10 every 15 minutes. I can't believe it, man.
What possessed me to bring that subject up? I look at you, and I see a lot of things about my mom. She was a brilliant woman. I look at you, and I see a lot of things as they are. She died of it.
Every artist's worst fear.
I know. Paralyzing. I know. I see the way that she went downhill, and I see the way that you've come to this point. Personal failure.
Personal failure.
We see things.
Christopher. I decided that if I was silent, there's nothing for them to steal anymore if I present myself as being just a jerk on the street. But I'm still acquiring and enjoying human behavior and putting it back into my work. Bonsoir, merci. Spare change, sir? No? Okay, merci bien. Gentlemen, can spare a little change? Hey, thanks, man. Merci bien. Merci. Monsieur, can spare a little change? Give it spare change, sir. Thank you, sir. Spare change, sir. Spare change. Thank you, sir. Spare change. Give it spare change, sir. Spare change, sir. Thank you, sir. Oh, you're very kind. I
I'm not very fond of my skeleton image. A strange skeleton. Oh dear. Makes me very uncomfortable. I don't know what to say yet.
Yeah.
I'm still digesting.
Processing it, sure.
Processing it.
Yeah.
It's
I hope that you realize that you're not the only person who comes out looking weird there.
No, right, I realize that.
Did it piss you off?
Yes, it's always easy to portray grotesque versions of reality. I mean, it's I don't know.
You know, one of the things that I look for when I do films is to show how ordinary lives are actually filled with all sorts of drama.
Well, I don't remember shouting about fucking money. I don't remember that.
Yeah, you were pretty angry. And, well, you had a reason to be angry. It wasn't just like you were being irrational. It wasn't my place and isn't my place to tell you to stop you know, drinking alcohol. And one of the reasons that I had brought that up wasn't because, you know, you were doing anything wrong by, you know, drinking beer and stuff. I brought it up largely because, you know, of a tragedy in my family.
Oh, Barbara was your mother?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. I gotta just digest it in my mind. Just because, I don't know, I'm slow.
Yeah.
I'm slow. And it shows, well, I guess it shows me for who or what I really am. But nonetheless, I still intend to go out and enjoy my beer. Let's go up to the Copacabana and sit down for a minute.
Did this go beyond what you expected? I mean, as far as being too invading of your space or something?
Oh, yeah, sure. But I was expecting it because I believe in your art. It's a mystery to me, but I believe in it. It's something very contemporary and rather amazing to look at.
We want to put it up for Academy Award consideration.
Wow, okay. I wish I could change that script, but I guess it's written in. Can't change it now, eh? I was just disappointed in my own performance because, you know, I was inarticulate. I gave myself for the portrait, and you made it come a reality.
Whose fries are those? I gotta say, Ryan, it took a lot of courage on your part to agree to be part of this. Like, I know a lot of people who would have never done what you've allowed me to do in making this film. So I'm always going to be grateful to you for that.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot. Courage, eh?
You know, we don't do it necessarily for the money, do we, Ryan?
No. It's for the art.
Yeah, it's for the art.
For the masterpiece. Yeah. I am what I am, you know. I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm very nervous about being scrutinized so tightly, you know. I just want out of this picture. This is what I wanted for the opening shot. This is my fabulous view of the ocean. For example, there's a tall ship, and all these splashing waves in the foreground. This is my bed, and my cane, my library, my wine cellar.